clinical psychologist, Dr. Bessie Fletcher. Dr. Bessie helps to heal the broken hearts of mothers and their daughters. If you and your daughter have brokenness in your relationship, please join the anointed and appointed one, Dr. Bessie. She's here to help you.
Hello, and welcome to My Mother, My Daughter, the Heart Connection. I tell you, I am getting calls from mothers and daughters from around the world. I'm amazed. Shouldn't be, but I am, at the number of mothers and daughters that are saying, I need you. My daughter's not speaking to me. I don't get to see my grandchildren. Or my mother's not speaking to me. She's still angry with me for something I've done years and years ago. Sounds familiar? The mother and daughter relationship, as long as I've been working with mothers and daughters, and I keep saying 24 years, that's a long time. I've seen a lot of mothers and daughters in person, workshops, conferences, whatever, in the home. But then we reach a lot of mothers and daughters throughout the world. And the mother and daughter relationship is a very interesting relationship because basically the two are so similar. They are so connected. It's an image, a very close image of the model. And that's why we based our program, our ministry, the work that I do as a Christian clinical psychologist from Ezekiel 16:44. As is the mother, so is her daughter. Came right out of the mouth of God. He knew that whatever the mother does, the daughter is going to follow. Now, sometimes I have a daughter will say to me, I don't want to be like my mother. I will never be like my mother. No, not going to do it. I'm never going to be like my mother. And I said, oh, okay. And I think most of us have said that for one thing or the other. Not that they are really bad mothers, but, I used to get a lot of spanking. So I said, oh, no, when I have my child, I will not spank them like I've gotten a spanking. But if my mother was here today, I could hear her say, and I've heard her say it. Why do you say that? You didn't get that many spankings. But I was always into something, running my mouth, saying things to people that I shouldn't have said as a child. And my mother was like, I can't believe you said that. But I would tell somebody if they wasn't telling the truth. And sometimes I didn't know you couldn't say that to an adult, shut your mouth. And being an only child, I got to express myself to my parents. So I thought I could do that anytime and anywhere. But my mother was like, no, it's disrespectful. So I got a spanking for a lot of things that I thought I shouldn't have got a spanking for because I was only speaking the truth. So here at Mothers and Daughters, the Mother and Daughter Faith Trust Ministries, we are a ministry that has been working with mothers and daughters, like I said, for 24 years. I've seen some things with mother and daughter relationships, but I've seen healing. Every mother and daughter is healed. The Holy Spirit does not miss one. That's the truth. And I'm anointed and appointed for mothers and daughters. And, I used to wouldn't say that because I didn't want people to think I thought I was all of that and this, that, and the other. And the Holy Spirit said to me, I chose you, and you chose me. Eventually, I've got it. God is using you for this assignment. We all have an assignment. You just need to find out what is your assignment and get on with it, because you're never going to be at peace. You're never going to find that spot where it seems like you're not working and everything just rolling in and you're doing fine. Yes, we have some challenges, but I love what I do. Every mother and daughter to me is like a member of the family. So today I have a young lady, Jamie. Jamie has a situation that really is really up there at the top. when you're talking about, let's say 0 to 10, Jamie is right in about 9 because her story is so captivating. And I know you might say, well, Dr. Bessie, where are we going with these topics? God is saying it's time to pull back the cloth. Pull it back on these hidden secrets. Hidden secrets are killing the family. Everybody just walking around acting like it's not happening, but you know it's happening. And then you think, well, why am I having a difficult time? Why can't I find peace? Why can't I find love? Why can't I marry the right person? What is it? Why are my children not speaking to me? Because they know, they've heard, and they're measuring you up. There's a lie floating around. Love and a lie can't live in the same place. We all have to learn. I'm still learning. There's no perfect mother and daughter relationship, but we have to work on it. And when something come up, we have to deal with it. Don't care how difficult it is, you got to have that conversation, because 9 times out of 10, if your daughter come to you or your mother come to you and ask you a question, they already know the answer. So it's up to you just to say, you know what, we're going to have this conversation. It's not an easy thing to do. It is difficult, but Lord, the rewards afterward, it is all worth it. It is worth it. So today I have with me a young lady. Her name is Jamie. Hi, Jamie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's nice to see you.
You too.
Jamie, I was just telling the audience, we have so many different hidden secrets, so many things that just disrupt the family. And one young lady I was talking to on another show, I could see 5 generations of the repeat of the same behavior, because no one came in and did an intervention to say, okay, we're going to cut the cord right here. So that's where we are right now with her. I told her, we are going to cut that cord. And then her daughter is going to be set free and her grandchildren are going to be set free. But with you, your subject matter is so intense that it's really going to shake the mindset of a lot of people, especially when we're talking about being in the Christian world. These are things that you don't want to talk about. Oh, no, we are Christians, and no, we can't do this, that, and that. Because what? We want to hide it. And God is saying, I need you to go. I need you to talk about hidden secrets. And Jamie, for 3 years, when God had me to start the radio program, I'm telling you, that's all we were talking about, hidden secrets. And I was like, God, we're going to do that again. It's like, how many ways can you talk about hidden secrets? I had no idea that he was going to fast forward up 10 or 15 years. And then now he's doing the same thing on this television network. Hidden secrets. He said, until we reveal the hidden secret, the family cannot become healthy. You cannot, because the children don't trust you, because they know a little bit about the secret. You know a little bit about the secret. You don't trust your mother or the family before you. And everybody just know a little bit about the secret, but nobody wants to talk about it. And a lot of times people used to say, well, can we talk about the pink elephant in the room? You ever heard that? Can we just, can somebody just talk about that? Well, Jamie, when you were talking to me about your story, I was blown away, because I see who you are now. And then we see your past. Nothing but God could have led you to where you are now. And I believe God allowed you to go through what you went through and protect you so that you would be a testament to him today. I know your story, some of it. And it's amazing the great woman that you are today. And what we want to do is talk about your past, and then we're going to bring it on up. And I title this, Is My Grandfather My Daddy? That will blow their minds, because people say, what? Yeah, it's not so uncommon really in the real world, because a lot of times they used to say, well, who's your daddy? Mama's baby and daddy's maybe. That was the concept, but that was a reality in a lot of people's lives. And they don't really know who really is their daddy. And then it come back, and I did a show, Jamie, on who is your mama. See, people don't want to talk about that. That's one of the shows that's coming up. Who is your mama? Raised by your what called your aunt, which is your mother, raised by your grandmother, who you thought was your mother. God is tired of this. It's got to be an answer. So tell us a little bit, Jamie, about how you got to that topic of, what happened as you were growing up. What was your relationship with your mother? How was you? Where were you born? And just kind of give us a capture of what happened to you to even have such a topic.
Well, I was born in Illinois, about 20 minutes away from Hannibal, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
So I was born to two drug addicted parents. They were 15 and 16 years old. Oh. And there for a while, my biological mom, was getting molested by her father at the same time where she got pregnant, when she got pregnant with me, excuse me. So there for a while, they did not know whose child I was, because she was also sleeping around with my biological father, who came to find out who was my biological father. So there was drugs in my system when I was born. So I was taken immediately into foster care from the hospital. And from the hospital, after I was taken into foster care, I was in foster care for a couple years, and then I ended up getting adopted by the family that I was raised by. My relationship with my biological mom, I did not have a relationship with my biological mom until I was 19 when I met her. My adopted mom, I had a very, very skewed relationship with her. We had a lot of differences, and we saw different on a lot of different topics. We saw differently on life. We just did not get along.
So let's go back to your mother being taken away, and you stayed in foster care. Do you remember anything about the foster care system? Or
I don't.
Okay. And so then how did you left the foster care and then you came back to live with?
I was taken directly from foster care to my parents' house that raised me, my adopted parents.
Okay, you were adopted.
Right.
And then you were adopted to a family that you and the adopted mother didn't get along.
Right.
What were some of the issues that you all had?
Even me being adopted was kind of one of those hush-hush secrets. It was kind of like an embarrassment to my family that I came from a family that I did, from a drug addiction and from the molestation. That was not something that I ever was able to talk about, ever.
So who was embarrassed? I mean, they adopted you. She made a choice. And then your adopted mother was embarrassed?
Oh, very much so. And every time I mentioned that I wanted to find my biological mom, she kind of just brushed it off. And when I was 19 is when I went to find her. The relationship with my adopted mom actually got worse, because she ended up becoming like very jealous that I was developing a relationship with my biological mom.
Even though the two of you didn't have a good relationship.
Right.
That jealousy is a strong thread that runs in the mother and daughter relationship. And that's another show. But basically, nobody wants to talk about that. Mother's being jealous of the daughter and daughter jealous of the mother. And so here she's thinking, I've raised you and I took you and adopted you. You should be grateful that I brought you in. And now your ungrateful self want to go find your mother.
Yes.
Is that another little narrative? But see what stepmom, aunt, whatever, you can have a grandmother, the best people in the world. I mean, some of the best loving people, but nothing can take the place of your biological mom.
Yeah.
That is something in you. I always tell her, I said it's the invisible umbilical cord. No matter where you go in life, you're still connected to the person that brought you into the world. You know, that human connection, no one can replace that. And so, in order for her to accept it and embrace it, she could have said, you know, I love you enough to, I understand. I'm sure she probably knew her mother. It's an important thing to know who your parents are, because you are living and walking around looking and wondering, could she be my mother? Could he be my dad?
Yeah.
Parents don't realize what kids go through, and especially when there's another child that overhear their parents talking about your situation, and then they gonna tell you, oh, you adopted, and it goes on and on and on. So you got to 19 and you decide, I'm gonna go find my mother.
Yeah. I started asking a lot of questions when I was about 13.
Mm-hmm. Who were
And
you asking?
I was asking my adopted parents because I wanted to know if they knew anything about her.
Mm-hmm.
I never had a question about my biological father. It was more about my biological mom.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
the connection right there. Everybody really wants to know who their mother is. You know, they can pretty much deal with dad, but that mom, that 9 months that she had you within her, that connection can never be broken from a son or a daughter ever. And that's what was pulling on you.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
and what happened? You found her?
I did find her. Back then it was really easy to find people on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So we pulled up an address, and it was actually my great grandmother's address, but we didn't know. We just knew that was an address for that was listed on the internet, and we just happened to be. We lived 2 hours away, so we just happened to be in the town where I was born this weekend specifically. And I told my parents, my adopted parents, that I wanted to go buy the house, especially before we left to go back home, just to see if anybody lived there, or maybe they even knew my biological mom.
Mm-hmm.
So we went, nobody was home, and my mom wanted to go to the mall or whatever. I don't really remember what it was, but before we left again, I told them, I'm like, I am going back to that house before we leave. So we ended up going back, and a lady came behind me. She had a bag of groceries in her hand, and I took off my sunglasses. She dropped the bag of groceries.
Wow.
She immediately knew who I was. It was my biological mom. And she
Okay.
just grabbed me and started hugging me.
Wow. See,
Yeah.
that's something, you know, you cannot deny. It's a connection, and God is so good and so crafty that you know who your biological people are.
Yeah.
And she knew when she looked at you and had seen you since you were born, but it was that connection. It's the energy connection.
Mm.
How did you feel at that moment?
It was just how you see it on TV, very emotional
Yeah.
when you see those reunions on TV.
Did you ask her about the question, who's my dad, and what happened during those times?
I did, and that's when she told me that they weren't sure there for a long time on who my biological father was. But then she told me at that time who he was, and it gave me a name. And I really still didn't go looking for him. I didn't start looking for him until probably a couple of years later, or starting asking a lot of questions about him. And then she told me, how I came about, that my biological father used to prostitute women for drugs, and that's how I ended up coming about.
And so she was one of the women that he prostituted.
Right.
And so with her on drugs, that's how the drugs got into your system.
Yes.
Did you ever have any problems with drugs afterward growing up? Did that demon reared its head in your life?
It did. I was really young when I tried alcohol for the first time, but then I was about 12 when I tried weed, and then it escalated from there. I ended up becoming a huge drug addict. I have 6 years sober actually this past month.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
6 years sober. That is good. You've done a lot in the time, because some of this stuff you've been doing, and you were still on drugs, obviously.
Yeah.
That is awesome, Jamie. So go ahead, continue the story. How did your stepmother feel when she's standing there and you're meeting your biological mom for the first time? What was her reaction?
No, she just stayed quiet. I don't think she understood or even knew what to say since she was there for everything.
Yeah. And it's hard. And that's not an easy thing when you have put in and poured into a child and have loved them. You know, you can get very selfish about it. And that's I understand her emotions, but it still doesn't help you, because then you got to grow and your heart needs to be healed in order for you to be able to heal, in order to you to be effective with your own children. It's a process that's needed in so many ways. And sometimes I tell stepmoms and adopted moms, don't take it personal. Just imagine if you didn't know your mother, how would you feel? It's not that they're going to leave you. It's not that they don't love you, but it's something missing in your soul. And you just can't, you just, until someone actually go through it, they don't know. They don't know. And I went through it. Where with my mother, and I'm saying like, oh, okay, now you're gonna have to tell me. And I was adopted too. And so it took her a while to even deal with it. But it's something missing. And you want to know, who's the other side of me? I got one side. Who's the family on the other side? And until you get those answers out there, mothers, do not leave. Do not leave this earth and leave your daughter or son with unanswered questions. They can never get it once you're gone, and they'll never be complete. They'll never be whole, because it'll be an emptiness that will be in their life forever, and it will cause your grandchildren to be affected. So now that you found your biological mom, what did you all do from that point?
I got to know her for about 10 years. She actually met my ex-husband. She got to meet him. She loved him. So that was really cool that she was able to have a relationship with him too. And then that's when, I moved to Florida, and I had a relationship with her, but it was kind of distant. Because I was too much into the Florida lifestyle, the Miami lifestyle, especially.
Yeah.
And excuse me, and was just getting married. So that didn't help either, because I was too involved in my own stuff. Plus, me and my ex-husband were drinking a lot. So I wish I had a woulda, shoulda, coulda big time after she passed.
Yeah.
Because when I was here is when she passed.
And so now when you look back at it, what do you wish that you had done?
I wish I would have had more of a relationship with her.
So you went through all that trouble to find her. And then once you found her, you still was so self-centered that you figure, okay, I know who she is and I know where she's at. You had no idea she wasn't going to be with you for a long period of time.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what we all do. we take advantage. We think people are going to be in our lives for a lifetime, and say, oh, one day I will, and one day I will. And then all of a sudden the person is gone. And we always look back and say, you know what, if I could do it all over again, I would have. And that's why I say, do not wait. If you're not talking to your mother, your daughter, do it now, because you don't know when either one of you are going to be transcending from this earth. So now your mother passed. How was your marriage with your husband? Did you find that love that you were looking for?
No, we ended up getting divorced shortly after that.
So how did that work out, the marriage? Sound like y'all was buddies. Y'all was into the same activities.
Yeah, we were each other's first loves. But we were very young and had no idea what marriage was all about. No clue. And especially when we moved here, he also got very accustomed. He's from Brazil, so he got accustomed to that Miami South Beach lifestyle too, because he wasn't used to being around a bunch of Brazilians in Illinois. So he made all kinds of friends, but was lying to me about the friends that he was making.
Yeah.
So,
he found a whole new world.
Yeah, exactly. And then he was partying it up while I was at home.
Yeah.
Wanting to know where he was.
And so what happened with your grandfather? Did you ever have a conversation with your grandfather?
No, he had already passed away.
Okay. When you found out, what made you believe that your biological father was your biological father?
Just from some of the stories that I was told, because I did whenever I went to Illinois about, I don't know, it was probably about 15 years ago. It was right after she passed. I was told a lot of different stories about him by my biological aunts. And that's how I found out that he used to prostitute the girls. It was confirmed, that he would prostitute girls. My mom had already told me, but it was, and all this molestation that my grandfather did to his family. Not only my mom, but her sisters as well.
Wow. What an exciting show. It's almost impossible to get to the meat of I would say the heart of the matter. It's hard to do it in 30 minutes. So that's why most of our shows will be part 1, part 2, and sometimes part 3. So you don't want to miss next week's show. If you would like to ask Dr. Bessie a question about your mother and daughter relationship, go to contact@matriarchnow.com. That's MATRIARCHNOW.com. May the Lord bless your mother and daughter relationship. Blessings.
The Mother and Daughter Roundtable is brought to you by Mother and Daughter Faith Trust Ministries. If you'd like to make a donation, visit matriarchnow.com.